Hello, amazing lady posse. It's Tash Corbin here, and welcome to a special episode of the Spotlight series. We have another conference speaker for you today. It is the wonderful, the amazing, the incomparable Angela Henderson. Welcome, Angela.
Hello, hello, Tash. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Do you want to tell everyone a little bit about your business?
Yeah, sure. I'd love to. So first of all, can I just say how excited I am for the conference? I'll just get that out of the way because I'm super excited. I'm like, yay.
Getting so
yes, and then you're like in the conference group, I'm watching everyone. So yes, I'm getting very, very excited. But in regards to my business, as I work specifically with women in business to grow sustainable and profitable businesses, there's a lot of times people have a business, but it's not sustainable, or they'll have a business and it's not profitable. And I do that by looking at individuals' core foundational elements. So making sure that their messaging is right, their branding is right, their product is right, they know their ideal audience, you know what I mean, et cetera, et cetera. And I do that through one-to-one coaching. I do that through my 8-week coaching program. And I also do that through my 4-day, 3-night exclusive women in business retreat. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. And I saw your retreat is like almost sold out within like a week or something crazy.
So we're not sold out, but yeah, so we have sold, I think, about 25% of tickets within that first week. So that's super exciting.
Yeah.
So 50 tickets max is what we'll have. That's why we're more a bit of a retreat.
Yeah.
That will be down on the Gold Coast in end of October before schoolies hit. So yeah, we're super excited.
Awesome. So good. So good. And we are really excited to be hearing from you at conference about growing the visibility and the reach in your business, which is just so powerful. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to start by asking you, why do you think women struggle with visibility in their businesses? Why is this a thing?
Well, listen, I think it's a cultural thing for starters. And I think you and I could probably talk about that for ages in regards to why are men so more visible and women aren't, even though we're trying to beat that down, right? Little by little. But I think there is an element that there's a confidence element. I think some people don't want to be the face of their brand, and that's okay. But if you don't want to be the face of your brand, but you're a personal brand, then I think you're probably going to struggle with not being visible. If you're a product-based service and you don't have to be visible, then I think that's okay. But I also think there's that anxiety around that, the fear around that. Also, I think we were talking about before we start recording, people not wanting to be famous, you know? I think there's a whole bunch of different variables that are dependent based on the individual woman who's in business.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agree with you on that. Absolutely. And then like once you get over the mindset barriers and the beliefs and I don't want to do it, the next step is, well, how do I grow my visibility? How do I get more reach? So do you have any like, big principles that you have about how women can grow their visibility through their strategy?
See, so again, what we'll be talking about at the conference are kind of my 3 key takeaways on how people can become visible and get that reach that they're really so desperately wanting in order to grow that sustainable and profitable business. And one is about humanizing your brand in your business. Again, as we'll talk about at the conference, I think things are over automated. So humanizing is one. 2 is the fact that you've got to be able to grow your own ecosystem. So that ecosystem has to have different types of funnels and different ways to meet the needs of your individual and your ideal client. And you need to be visible in different avenues based on where you sit within that ecosystem. And 3, that you've got to be willing to pay to play. And what I mean by that is what we were talking earlier is that people have to pay to play really in order to grow quite quickly and get the visibility and reach that they need. So an example is all these women that are coming to your conference are doing just that, whether or not they know it or not, is that they've paid to play with all the speakers that are there, all the attendees that are there. And just so that, I mean, in itself, your group of women that are coming are already ahead of the game. It's just about how they do and how they strategize on that and capitalize on that. Yeah,
I love that so much. And I think you are the poster child of pay to play, and you are such a shining example of someone who was willing to invest, get to the events. You've traveled all around the world to be part of big masterminds and all sorts of amazing things. And that network that you have and that reach that you have is absolutely astounding, like so jelly, right? But you also proved when you came to the Heart Centre Business Conference last time in 2017, you came to conference. It was a local event, and you didn't just buy a ticket to conference. You came and you stood out. You really were, you are the shining example of someone who makes themselves known to the room, who is of service, who, like every person that I say, oh, have you met Angela? She's the most generous, amazing person I know, right? Like this amazing vibe that you gave off. And now you're a speaker at conference. So I don't think it's a coincidence that you have mastered this, making the most of all of the opportunities that you have, and creating meaningful relationships with people that you meet as well.
Yeah, again, there's always strategy behind it, you know. So for example, I bought the ticket, but I also paid for the VIP day, right? Because I'm like, well, if I'm already going for the first lot, I might as well pay for the VIP day, because then I get to solidify those relationships even more. So for me, there is always strategy, but there always is still genuine. If I don't like someone, trust me, I will not go out of my way. Like, I'm not a douchebag about it either, but like, I wouldn't go out of my way, because I would put my energy elsewhere, right? But if I like people, you know, yes. An example is, I'll never forget when Zach, I think, who many of you guys also know, is coming to the event, and I'd said to him and his partner, would you guys like to go up to Noosa, because we had a gap at your conference? And later on, I think Zach went up to you and said, oh, you know, Tash, thanks so much for having your employee or helper take us to Noosa. And you're like, what do you, I don't understand, like, what do you mean?
Who took you to Noosa?
You're like, and took us to Noosa, thank you for arranging that. And you're like, no, and she's not my employee. But, you know, again, it's for people's perception, right? Is that, so you've got to do it out of good heart and good nature. But if you're already going to be somewhere locally, if you choose not to capitalize on that and help where you can and create literally an emotional connection and like memory, ingrain someone, well, again, I say that's up to you. Like, you've got choices to make. Don't do it and drink the beer and wine. Or, do you know what I mean? Be strategic about it. I probably do a little bit of both. I like to drink a little bit and dance a little bit. So yes. So there's always strategy, because I'm just like, we don't have a lot of time in the day. So if I'm going to commit to a conference, whether or not that's paid or I'm speaking, it's got to be something that I like and want to do first of all. And then from there, I look at, okay, who's going to be there? Who else can I help? You know, that's my first question. How can I help another business? It's never about me first. It's about what value can I give first? And then it's like a bank account. You can't withdraw something if you're not willing to put in the hard yards, whether or not that's in business, friendships, with your partner. You always have to continue to nurture that at all times. You don't have anything in the bank, you can't withdraw. So
yeah, I love it so much. And I don't think anyone you've ever created that connection with ever felt like, oh, she was so strategic with being friends with you, like, right? It's a strategic decision to go to the event and show up fully. And then when you show up fully, of course, it's going to result in some shifts and changes and growth for you. And I think that's a beautiful thing, to be mindful. I think it's mindfulness, being mindful of, this is a great opportunity for me. And I also, like, just applause, buy the VIP ticket. I always do the same thing. And then people say to me, oh, you always like end up talking to the organizers. You always end up talking, you know, networking with all the speakers at every event that you go to. You're so lucky. I was like, I made a conscious decision of going, you know, we both love Jetta Selner. Like, when I saw her at ProBlog, I saw you speak on stage there as well. Another amazing thing. And like, I just went up and spoke to her, and I was like, wow, you know, what you're sharing is amazing. I'd love to interview you. And I would, you know, is there anything I can do to help you? What are you doing while you're here in Brisbane? Because I just thought she was really awesome. And so, you know, people say to me, oh, I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous. Like, one, when you buy the VIP option, you get more opportunities to speak to the speakers and interact with those people who are also engaging at the VIP level. And two, then you also, like, just be a human, like, be human.
It goes back to exactly right. You have to have a human element in your business. And as we were saying before we started recording, is that so many people, I think they do it. But if you actually dig down under the layers, most people aren't actually really, really doing it. They're ticking a box, right? Because any of the 120, 150 people that will show up to your event, everyone has equal opportunity to create opportunities for themselves. It's just up to those people to take action or not to take action. But it's also not what happens at the event. It's also about what happens post the event. So, you know, my good friend Jordan Harbinger from the Jordan Harbinger Show, when we were at We Are Podcast, we were talking about how do you stay in contact with these people, and we schedule it in our diaries every single month. to go, okay, great, these are the people that we want to follow up with. And most people think, oh, well, shouldn't it just come naturally? Unfortunately, our brains are quite busy. So to me, just like I put in my thing to make sure I call my dad at times and that people's birthdays, because my brain doesn't work as good now that I'm 40. It's the same type of thing. You can't just show up to an event and then think it sticks. It's what you actually do post-event that is more crucial than what actually happens on the day. So
100%.
So yes.
Yeah, totally with you on that one. And it's the same with all the things you've learned at a conference or event. You go, like the magic of a conference isn't just in what you hear. And that's why one of our key principles of conference is implementation, is because it's what you go away and do with that information and the implementation that you do in your business. Same with when you're making connections with people and when you're, starting to build those relationships. It's what happens afterwards that is the powerful part. And looking at our last conference, and who have been the attendees who've really nailed it, who have grown their reach, who've grown their businesses, they're the people who went, right, I'm doing this, and they really committed, and a lot of them are coming to conference again this time because they're ready for the next layer. And that's really powerful. I love that so much.
Yes.
So, Ange, I have a question for you then. You talked a little bit about this ecosystem, right? If you want to grow your reach and visibility, you have to be quite structured in the way you think about and be strategic. There's so many options available to us. You can be a crazy Instagrammer. You can go on Facebook and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on ads. You can, you have so many options to grow your reach in your business. How do we choose from all of those options?
Again, I think you need to go back and go, what do you look like? Like what do you like to do? I guess you should say, so when you wake up in the morning, if you look at the lady, what's the lady who's doing all the cleaning at the moment? What sparks your joy? That lady.
Yes.
It's like similar type thing, like what sparks your joy when you wake up in the morning? Because not all of us like to be on social platforms, but I think an equal close second is you need to be looking at where is your ideal audience sitting. There's no point starting a podcast if your audience doesn't listen to podcasting. There isn't. And the third thing I say is you don't have to do everything. You don't have to be everywhere. But whatever you do, you have to provide quality versus quantity, So if you show up on Instagram, and Instagram is changing, I work closely with Tyler McCall, one of the big Instagram strategists from the US, and he talks a lot that you're better off posting 3 quality posts a week than posting 2 or 3 times a day with just really poor quality. And that you have to start using the entire platform of Instagram and not just the posts. So again, you've got to be thinking about really strongly, is your ideal client on Instagram? And if not, well then choose where your ideal client is and do it well, whatever you choose to do.
Yeah, I love that so much. And it is about nailing the thing as well. I know so many people, they're kind of on Facebook and they're kind of on Instagram. And when I say let's focus on your Facebook strategy, this needs to happen and this needs to happen. And they're like, I've got no time for that. But they're not willing to let go of the things that aren't actually a priority as well. So, okay, this is a great question, I think, to bring the conversation to an end. You seem to be everywhere. When I think about Angela Henderson, I'm she's everywhere. She travels the world. She goes to all these events. She's everywhere on my Facebook feed. How do you do it? How do you prioritize, and how do you create that presence that you want to create without burning yourself out? Because you were all about sustainability, right?
Yeah, 100%. So again, let's first be very clear. My husband does an enormous amount, right? And I actually was talking when I was in the Maldives for my mastermind with James Shremko. One of the males there said, "Oh, your husband let you come." And I was like, well, hold on, let's get it very clear. First, my husband didn't allow me to come. He's also the sperm donor of my children. So it was, I let him know the ticket was coming up, that I would like to go, and I purchased the ticket. I was and even if the husband would have said no, I still would be here today. I said, so that's, who I am. So let's get very clear. But my husband is super supportive. Really, if there's, and I do see this at a lot of conferences I go to, unfortunately or fortunately, is that I'm normally one of the only women when it's more a male dominant presence. And of the women that are there, they're typically, their kids are older. So they're in their high school or they're about to graduate. So the first thing I'd like to say is I need to give credit to my husband, because it's not that he allows me to do anything. It's just that he's super supportive and takes the father role very seriously and manages the fort very, very good. So that's why I can do what I do. Without him, I think it would still work, but it would be a very big struggle. Next thing that I do is, again, I look at What do I want in people? So when I look at kind of the people that I look up to, there's a lot of people that will be very, very nice to you as long as you're paying. And there's a lot of big people that I've looked up to in the past that as soon as I stopped paying to go to their events, because either it wasn't for me anymore or whatever, they no longer liked your stuff on Facebook. They no longer commented. So for me, one of my things is always about being present. And so I'd be present, and even if I might only like something on someone's post, but I show up is what I do. But I show up things like incidentally. And what I mean by that is if I've got to stand in line at the supermarket, I will strategically choose the longest line. And then I will spend my 5 minutes in line and quickly go do what I need to do. I'm already in line. I can quickly go and do that. So I really try and hone in on all of my time. How can I use it most efficiently? Also, Facebook Lives are easy for me. So it's actually easier for me just to go live and talk. And again, I'm building a much quicker human connection and I'm a lot more visible than trying to figure out what I'm going to write in a blog post. So yeah. And also it comes down to outsourcing. So I outsource an enormous amount of my stuff. So all my podcasts, so we release a podcast a week, all of that is outsourced to my podcast team. So all I have to do is record, everything else is done for me. My community manager, Airly, who you know, my project manager, then I've got a community manager now. So outsourcing. Now, some of you might be rolling your eyes going, well, that's great if you've got money. But the reality of it is that, again, I pay people all the way from $9 US an hour in the Philippines to do certain roles, all the way up to, I think, $75 an hour, depending on what their role is. So, but again, those are choices. So those choices allows me to be more visible because I'm outsourcing those other tasks I don't need to do. And that's visibility is what allows me to have the income that I have because I'm showing up.
Yeah, exactly. I love that so much. And I guess this is also that that thing about focus as well, right? So when you were first starting, you picked these are your core strategies, you really focus on getting those working, you got the money coming in, and that creates the opportunity then to outsource and get someone else to start taking some things over, and it comes as part of a growth strategy. So when, like, we're not saying go and spend 20 grand a month on a team when you're not making a cent in your business yet, but have a plan for where it's going. You're not going to be running this business solo for the rest of your life. So start getting clear on what's the next trigger point for you to hire in some more help, or what's the next trigger point for you to start exploring a new strategy, rather than like trying to do everything at once, not getting any of it working, and feeling like you're just constantly everywhere and not actually getting the result that you're looking for from your business. I say all the time, like, the fastest way to resent your talents is to not be paid for them and to be like scattering yourself like crazy and burning yourself out. That's not going to put you in a space of feeling like, yeah, this is amazing, I could do this all the time, when you're really flat and tired.
No, and I think again, it comes down, my word of the year is refining. Is I think a lot of times everyone's trying to build 50 different products or 50 different services and 50 different, and so their energy levels and what they can give people is very minimal across the board, and that comes across in their programs and how they sell and how they do whatever. So my thing is I refine. I'm not bringing anything else on. My podcast is on, my retreat is on, my one-to-one coaching and my program. That's all I'm doing. That's all I did. I introduced it last year and I'm refining it this year. There's nothing else new that's coming on board. So sometimes in businesses, people may think that more is best, but actually you've got to be quite counterintuitive to what everyone else is telling you on the internet. And it's best to just to refine and hone in on, because if you start offering too many things to your audience also gets confused and overwhelmed, and then they don't buy anyways. So again, the reason why, again, that visibility and reach is that I stay on doing, as much as there's a million other ideas I have running, I'm like, no, focus, refine. So that allows me to then strategize the visibility and reach.
Oh, I love it. Now I'm even more excited for conference. It's going to be so great. So if you are interested in coming along to the Heart Center Business Conference and learning from Angela in a much more in-depth way about how you can grow the reach and visibility of your business, we're going to build your ecosystem. So we've got some full exercises for you to do in that workshop. Then please do come to ladyposse2019.com and check it out. And if you use the coupon code Angela, you get $100 off your ticket as well. Ooh, everybody loves a bargain.
Yes.
So we'll make sure we put all the links in the show notes of this episode. If you've got any questions, you're welcome to get in touch with us. And until next time, lovely ladies, we cannot wait to see you shine. Thanks so much, Angela.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.